the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EDtech, episode number 8, recorded Friday, September 14th, 2012. High in fiber. It's time for EDtech, your monthly meeting of technology managers from around the country. My name is Tim Albright. I'm your host. I'm also a technology manager. Imagine that. With us this month, as always, Scott Tyner. He is from Bates College up in the great northeast of Maine. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Tim. Looking forward to a good hour.
I hope so. we try. Head down the East Coast, if you would, please, over to George Mason University, and you will find Mr. Matthew Silverman. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks, Tim.
And now you go 3 hours to the west to the beautiful sandy beaches of UCLA, and we find Mr. Greg Brown. How are you, sir?
Well, we don't have sandy beaches on campus, but you could walk there if you really set your mind to it.
Okay, so he has a beach within range, and he's a freaking published blogger now.
And it is, however, in the 60s today. It's a little on the chilly side.
Oh, be quiet. Yeah, if you want, we're going to put up a post up. He, by the way, just totally glossed over the fact that he's on Infocom's blog board
my first
now.
Blog
So
post,
yay,
yes.
Mr. Brown.
Great stuff, Greg. Great
Yes,
stuff.
it was. So yeah, we'll put up the link up to that. Today, this month, we're going to talk about a couple different weird little computer things. You know, how to control your laptop and the fact that your mouse might be going away. NEC will help pay for your programming changes. Sort of, yeah. They'll give
Snicker.
That what they pay and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee. A couple of fiber things, and also get out your calendars because we're going to talk about Infocom, the show, through 2019. But first, the worst kept secret in the world of technology this week was the fact that there's a new iPhone. Yay! Show of hands. Who's got like iPhones? Let's just do iPhone. Scott, do you have one?
Yes,
Scott?
sir.
Matthew?
Yeah, I'm still on the 3GS, so I'm thinking this may be the time.
Oh, you're just a Luddite.
Greg, I'm an Android person.
See, I am too. I have a Nexus S.
But thank you for letting me, associate with the rest of you. I know how you Apple people are.
I'm weird. Okay, I'm two-faced. I've got a Nexus S, but I also have an iPad, so I don't know who I am. So the iPhone 5 came out, and one of the weird little things is that it has a brand new connector. And here's the thing that came. There's the story we're using is out of Bloomberg. Matt, we'll start with you on this. So here's the thing. Everybody in the world is like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. Why did Apple do this? And as a technology guy, I'm going, okay, sure. It just gives me one more piece that solidifies my job as a tech manager, because the next professor that walks in with his brand new iPhone 5 is going to go, I can't connect this. Is that valid? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I from what limited I've read about like their technical decision making, I actually think it made a lot of sense. It's a higher speed connector. It's a fully digital connector. It allows them, as I understand it, to like reprogram what some of the pinouts are dynamically. So, and frankly, I think while the 30 pin connector had a long life, it was probably time for it to go. Or it may have been more than 30 pins, but the big old honker it wasn't a modern connector. I mean, if we're all used to now to, mini USB or things like that. I mean, and so I get that. I do, but I agree with you as support professionals. Oh, hell, this is going to make our lives fun. I mean, it means all of the dongles, which we check out the faculty, not that I see them doing that much for their iPhones, but, the next generation of the iPad, we all know it's going to have the new dongle.
Oh, yeah.
And so, now I have to add, the 27th Apple adapter to our stock parts list. I think the last time I went through this, I actually when we first made the switch to digital, I had put together a reference chart based on which MacBook. This was just MacBooks. This wasn't even getting into iPhones or tablets. Which dongle you needed based on which MacBook you had.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And I actually think, and this is from Apple's official site, I pulled most of this information, something like 7 or 8 different dongles were required. We ended up deciding, to stock about 4 of them. And that was only going back to, maybe 2008. I wasn't even going back further than that.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're spending, because usually the dongle, and I'm generalizing here, usually a dongle is about $30.
Well, if you buy it from Apple, it is.
Okay, I got you. So you're saving some money by doing a third-party one.
Yeah, we're for the ones we could go third-party, we did. We're still talking about, I would say we drop $100 overall our support offices a year, maybe a semester even, on just replacing Mac dongles, which didn't make it back to the office.
Wow.
In the scope of our operations, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not a significant cost. We have had bigger things walk away, but it's annoying. And the bigger challenge is keeping our staff trained to understand if you have X, you need Y. And when that requires a 3-page matrix, that's a challenge. And also it means, all the accessories we all have, unless they make a old dock to new dock connector, I know I have a speaker dock for my phone that's no longer works. I have, a car charger. Now I need to, if I upgrade to a 5, I got to change that out. So someone's making money on this. It's more annoying, but at some point you just got to cut it loose and cut over. So I understand it.
Well, he's right. Now you've got to train all your guys, and you can sweet talk Matt into giving him his matrix. But he's right. You've got to train all your guys. You guys have to get trained on, a new protocol on when the professor calls and he says this doesn't work. You've got to figure out why now.
Right, and so the real issue, I think, as Matt was saying, is not that they change the connector. It's that we're still not going with anything that's a standard. It's not a micro USB, a mini USB. Even if they weren't going to put their video and their audio or their synchronization over it, if it was a micro USB that you could use a standard charger for, that would at least be nice. And so that's the frustration, that as Apple continues to not standardize on stuff. But it's interesting. I have seen advertisements already for the dock converters.
Oh, jeez. Of course you have.
But they're not. What they're going to help is what you plug into a wall. They're not going to let you put this into your iDock radio because it's not going to fit. It's going to fall over. It's a little adapter that goes on the bottom of it. So, any of us who have the iPad docks from Crestron in any of our rooms, or any of the mounts for iPads or the like, because I think Matt's absolutely right. You think the next iPad's going to come out with the 30-pin? I don't think so.
No, he's right. And Greg, is this something where I'm not going to say encourage your professors, because that's, trying to do that is like herding cats. But where you encourage or at least strongly suggest to guys, you know what? Let's not use our phones in general. Let's be diplomatic here. Let's not use our phones for presentations. Let's agree on tablets, or just bring in a flash drive or something like that.
Not seeing a lot of that yet, and we're working very hard at getting people to bring their own adapters. So really hasn't been an issue for us. I mean, I haven't heard of anything here on campus where that has affected yet, or has been affected yet. I mean, I just thought it was a really little bit of a funny cold hard dose of AV reality for all the Apple fanboys and fangirls out there, that, oh my God, they have to deal with a different connector. I mean, this is a college campus. I mean, you can't swing the proverbial dead cat without hitting an Apple fanboy or fangirl of some sort.
Where did you get those cats, by the way? All right. Continuing on the Apple bandwagon, as it were. Matt brought something really cool to this, actually. If you don't know what Kickstarter is, that's where this story comes from. Kickstarter, real briefly, is a micro fundraising platform where people can give money to products that they think is a good idea. And when the people that have the idea get enough money, whatever their goal is, they give you the product, and then obviously they begin selling it once they have it in development. And Matt, this one is called the AirBridge, and it's, from what I'm getting, it's wireless connectivity for your iDevice.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I got to give a hat tip to Matt McChesney from Blue Ridge Community College, because he actually shared this on a Virginia Classroom Tech listserv we have. It's a hardware-based wireless display solution for iPads, which is awesome. It's not AirPlay. It doesn't have to interface with my networking guys. It's point-to-point wireless. My guess is it's possibly WIDI or wireless HD or one of the other. I haven't really delved too far into the technical details. But whatever it is, someone finally took technology that's out there and put together a really great product. And, you can talk about dock adapters. These guys actually thought ahead. The interface for your iDevice is actually a modular component, so you can actually change that out, and they've already talked that they're looking to put into production, the new Lightning, or even like a standard HDMI or a micro HDMI, so it's not just an Apple product.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. Unfortunately, they've only, I guess, fundraised at this point about $50K out of the $500K they're trying to raise. But they got about a month left on the project. So hopefully someone like Engadget or someone will pick this up, and, those things then go to town.
Yeah, this is how the thing works, is they say, if the four of us develop some really cool product and we say we need, $100,000 to get it off the ground, once we reach that $100,000, Kickstarter gives it to us, and we do what we say we're going to do. And so, yeah, Matt's right. This is only at 56,000 of $500,000 is what they're saying that they need. Greg, is this something that either do you? Let's not get evil on Apple, but this almost seems like something that they would buy up almost to stop, or to integrate into their own AirPlay.
Well, that was my first thought. I looked at it, and it seems like a gee-dunk of an idea. It seems like, why isn't this already made? This makes perfect sense. And so, yeah, my first concern would be, what's to keep. Why wouldn't Apple start making, one of these and charge twice as much, and all of a sudden everybody stops buying this and goes and buys the Apple one because it has the cute little Apple logo on the side that we all have to have. It's a neat idea, but yeah, it strikes me as almost not niche enough. It seems like it makes a lot of sense, and it should be out there, which at some point, Apple will figure out a way to make a lot of money off of that.
But you see, it's for commercial applications, so Apple's just not going to touch that.
Oh, very nice, very well done. Yeah, because they don't.
Actually, frankly, the corporation I'd be more scared of is Cisco going after them, because their logo looks strikingly familiar to Cisco's logo.
Yeah.
And I don't see Apple making it either, because it's if Apple was going to do this, they'd put it in the phone. I think it looks to me a little sloppy for Apple, having a device that you need to plug into your phone.
Having a dongle like.
Well, this kind of thing it's sitting on that you plug into the bottom, that's not, to me, that's not Apple's kind of mode of operation. Plus, I think Apple may buy it out and just shut it down. We've seen them do that before.
Yeah.
But Apple thinks they've already got this with AirPlay.
Well, isn't it time we start the rumors for the iPhone 6? I mean, isn't that scheduled out in like 6 months or so?
Absolutely. Yeah, January maybe.
But be on the top of the list of, hey, the iPhone 6 is going to include this feature.
That would be awesome. It will. It'll include that, and you'll be able to.
That's probably what'll happen.
And it'll have a Pico projector in it. So sorry.
No, that's the 7. That's not out until the 7th.
It,
All right.
it can't. It doesn't need both,
That's
though,
next
right?
Christmas.
Well, no, it needs both. Yeah, so that you
It'll-
can have multi-screen display or something. I don't know.
Of course, it needs both. That means Apple will never put them in the same device.
Oh, jeez. It'll be connected via a Thunderbolt port. It'll be the only that.
The projector will be in your iPad. And
There
so
we
you have
go. That makes
iPhone
sense.
and an iPad to make them work together.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that. All right. One more story in the iOS world. Smart, the guys who in the last 6 months have proved that they're not very, has come out with an iPad app, which actually is kind of intelligent.
Can you put a finer point on that there,
I
Tim?
was trying, alliteration, it's an iPad app that helps with their devices. So the app allows students or anybody holding the iPad to use the collaborative learning software that they've got inside their stuff. Greg, is this something that they needed to do just to keep up with the quote unquote Joneses in the annotation world?
They needed to do something. I mean, I would put Smart on a list of a handful of companies that I'm not sure how they're staying around looking a few years down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, and I looked for this. It took me a while to find the app on the website. I just literally had to search for it, but because I couldn't find a link for it anywhere, they don't really publicize it. And it's an obvious thing for them to do. I think they have to think more software related, and they make a great software package. However, this is it. This is their software package. They're kind of a one-trick pony software-wise, although it's a really good trick. And beyond that, they've been nothing but very hardware or saw themselves as nothing but a hardware company, I think, for their entire existence. And I think that's a dangerous road going, plotting that course into the future. I'm not sure where that's going to lead. So, yeah, an obvious thing for them to do probably makes a lot of sense. I would have loved to have found a demo. I looked for one but didn't see it. If it works like their software, I'm sure it's pretty slick, but I'm not quite sure what Act 2 of this play is going to include.
Well, Act 2 may very well include being bought out by somebody else, though. I mean, that may very well be it. Scott, is he right? Is this their best trick? Is software their best trick anymore? Because everybody and their brother has some sort of hardware-based annotation.
Well, exactly. I think that I've always thought of Smart as a software company. That's what was so fantastic about their product. And I think that it's one of these things that you find in companies in today's world is that they need to be able to adapt and change and reinvent themselves. And Smart hasn't done that. They had this huge market that, in my opinion, their stuff was way overpriced. And although we have one in every single classroom, we have a Symposium in every classroom. That we're finally stopping to do that now because our faculty don't use it. Mm-hmm. And
really? There is that.
Yeah, they don't. And I think it's one of those things where
details.
They don't use it, and for them to learn the software is not worth their time. And I think I agree with that. And so I think that what a company needs to do is completely reinvent how somebody interacts with writing on a board or writing on a screen and what happens from there. And when they do that, they'll hit the jackpot. Smart, has got this idea of the iPads interacting with it. This comes, I don't know if any of you had ever seen their Slate product, which was a Bluetooth piece that you could pass around the room, and students could write on this Slate and that would show up on the board. I think this idea of having students in a room, physically interacting with what everybody's looking at is a great idea. I'm not sure that they're going to be able. I hope. I'll be positive. I hope that they're able to completely reinvent themselves in a way that makes sense, rather than just kind of doing an addition to their Smart product line.
Okay, yeah, and I will echo that as well. I do hope that they can do that.
What probably would have made sense for them, or probably would have been a good position for them, would be if we had the option to use their software under license for every interactive tablet and whiteboard out there.
You do. It's you can buy their smart notebook you can buy, I think it's $100 a seat. You can buy and it'll work. Yeah.
Will it run on everything out there?
Well, most of them,
some of them are putting, a lot of people are putting their own odd, in some cases, proprietary stuff on there.
Okay, let's put it this way: if you can get something which can emulate a mouse, it'll work. Mm-hmm. Now you may not get full annotation like you have on a smartboard, but you could use the smart notebook if that's what you were going for. Now, I'm going to jump in and take a very contrarian point of view to what's been said. I actually think in higher education space, smart software is absolute garbage.
Okay.
I like some of their hardware. I actually think the new 24-inch tablet they just started shipping is probably the best product they put out. I just put 2 of those in 2 of our rooms this summer, and they're phenomenal. And I'm not a big fan of annotation, but they just work, which is a first. We've generally seen our faculty only want to use the basic tools. They either want to use just on-screen annotation, which I think Microsoft at this point even has built in, or they want to use like annotation within PowerPoint or Word, which you're actually not using smart tools, you're using Microsoft Ink. I'm looking at like this notebook app right now. It's $7 a pop, and I could see this being really good in a K-12 environment where you have a smart board or a tablet or something like that. The instructor is building curriculum in Smart, where I do think the Smart Notebook works well for K-12 curriculum. And you have an iPad program where every student has an iPad with this on it. So you have a fully immersive smart environment. But I've just not been a big fan of their software at the higher ed level. It's generally not, it's been frankly too bloated. I mean, if you look at what's in Smart Notebook, they have never depreciated any elements through 10 versions.
Oh, geez.
Which leads to this this troublesome product, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents on it. I mean, I think it's cool for K-12. I just don't see much higher ed application here.
And yeah, so Matt, I agree with you, and I think that's where Smart and that's been their bread and butter is the K-12. But that's where Smart or some other company is going to jump in one day and say exactly what you say. Because my faculty are the same. They want the basic annotation. Mm-hmm. And they would love for their students to be able to be involved in that some way. But honestly, that software is hard to use now. And they've done these crazy things recently where they have windows pop up on your monitor and you can't get rid of them. I don't know if any of you have seen that yet, but their update over this summer, there's a window you cannot get rid of right in the middle of your PowerPoint. And it took me about 5 minutes to finally, go into some system settings and get rid of that thing.
There was actually a product I saw at Infocom the show this year. It was not a shipping product, and I am feeling really bad because I'm blanking on the manufacturer. It was a Chinese projector manufacturer who was just moving into America. They and I want to say it's Vivitech, but it's not that. It's something very close to that. It'll probably come to me later in the show. But they had I'd say alpha beta version. They were actually working of a product for a German school system that they showed to us, which was a overlay you put over any screen or any monitor. It really didn't matter. It was just basically a snap-on, and that gave you annotation. And this was actually paired with an Android-based, no iPads involved, solution to have full interactivity between the students and the instructors, where you could have polling, you could have quizzing, you could have them write on their device, and then it would show up on the monitor. So you could have full collaboration. And they were just curious if we were interested. Absolutely. I just passed on to our independent rep. I said, yeah, we if that, if something comes from there. It is actually Vivitech. I just was spelling it wrong. It's Vivitek. So it is Vivitech USA is their website. And I don't know if this will ever make it to market, but it was neat and it did everything Scott was asking for.
Well, that's kind of cool. Is that the fact that they've wrapped up a bunch of different products, whether it's the polling and the multi-user annotation and all that stuff. So that's kind of cool. All right, you are listening to EdTech with Matthew Silverman, Greg Brown, and Scott Tyner. One thing that we were talking about smart here for a second. I think that they're going to have to get away from hardware and go into software, and somebody else that is as well is Polycom. When it comes to video conferencing, I like Polycom a lot. We have 2 systems here on our campus. Nothing against Cisco or Tandberg as it was, Lifesize or anybody else, but that's who I've had experience with. This past month, their earnings report they had a 77% drop. I'm not an economist, but I don't think that's good. So, Scott, is this something where these guys are going to? For crying out loud, they're going against Cisco. And nothing against Cisco, but they're one of the big behemoths. You've got Cisco on one end, or you have Skype on the other end, and we all love Skype because that's what we're using right now. Is this something where they're going to have to get away from selling the boxes and make their software so incredibly either easy or compelling that people will pay money for it?
Well, first, Tim, like you, I'm not an economist, but as I read the article, I was trying to figure out the correlation between a 77% drop in sales and a massive turnover in their sales force in the United States. Yeah. I couldn't understand how those two correlated with each other. I think what Polycom will have to do is decide which one of those they want to do. Because as I see the market today, you have the very high end video conferencing, the telepresence, or the video conferencing with quality of service built in, and then you have Skype, or Google Chat or whatever, and FaceTime, exactly. And I think that those are that's the spectrum. I don't know that there's room in the middle anymore. We have Polycom, and I've always liked it, and we used it a lot. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I think that in the past year and a half, where we've done well over 100 conferences, we haven't done one using our high-end conferencing stuff. It's all been Skype.
Wow.
And that's because there's no need to do Skype. The people we deal with right now in higher ed are willing to deal with the issues of internet latency and the like. And so I think if you're in a boardroom and you've got the CIO of 2 Fortune 100 companies talking, they're going to go with the telepresence and the Cisco stuff. So I don't know that there's that room in the middle anymore. That's at least what I'm seeing.
Okay, Matt, is this just the whole YouTubeization of America, where we're okay with lower latency quality as long as we get the information we want?
No, I actually kind of agree with Scott there. I think we've hit the point that, except for very specific applications, hardware-based video conferencing is dead and dying, and it just doesn't know it. I don't think this is just Polycom. I think Cisco, though you may not see it as direct a correlation as part of the mothership. Besides, I'd say, government, military, super high-end, C-level stuff, or places where they need encryption, there's no good reason to really heavily invest in hardware. Has George Mason moved off hardware? No. That has more to do, I think, with just how we're thinking about it and unwillingness to step outside our box. But if you look at services like Blue Jeans, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned a couple of times on the show, and I love them. I've used their bridge for training. I've used their web-based, no download VC client, which in my opinion knocks the socks off anything I've seen from Polycom or Cisco. And it's just it's software. I mean, Microsoft has gone heavy with Skype and Link, and it's software is the future for your desktop. Software is the future for your small room. I mean, you could buy that Logitech $250 camera, and you now have a conference room, which is Skype or something else ready, where we used to have to drop, $20,000 worth of gear in. So it's an evolution. My question is actually, why didn't this happen sooner? But yeah, I think for our mainstream video conferencing, it's not even a quality issue, because I think you can get high enough quality with these software-based services because we now have enough computing on the desktop. You don't need that dedicated, video processor anymore. You can do it with your video card on a standard business class machine.
Greg, do you think there will ever come a time where we completely eliminate hardware at all? Like there's nothing, it's all in the cloud?
Well, I think both Matt and Scott made really great points there about, software taking over the entire low end of things. And I think the thing we have to remember is that stuff is only going to get better. We talk about the quality of Skype and the quality of these software-based things, and I only see that side of the house getting bigger and being even more of a threat to. Yeah, it's not gonna be a high-end telepresence room anytime soon, but I think it's only going to get bigger and higher quality. And Polycom is another one of those companies where, I'm not quite sure where they're going. A couple years ago, the road started to split in one direction, towards the high end, and in the low direction, and in another direction in the cheap software-based stuff, and they continue to sort of pedal straight into a tree.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
So we'll see.
Let me give you a hypothetical, moving it up just from the low end, though. I mean, we, right now we do all our conference rooms and classrooms with a Cisco C40. Codec plus, a couple years of maintenance, I think we're looking at a cost of about somewhere between $50,000 and $20,000. Now, I don't exactly remember what that codec goes for these days. Let's assume George Mason were to roll out some sort of enterprise conferencing, be it Cisco, be it Link or something like that, like Jabber or Link. We could then, if we got our faculty familiar with using it at a desktop, put about a $2,000 AV bridge in from Vadio and keep our system design pretty much the same. All they would have to do is start the call inside the software client rather than with the Crestron. And I've now cut $15,000 off the cost of a design.
Wow.
And I don't have to change the rest of the system.
That could make a difference.
That's a huge difference. I mean, you extrapolate that over how many rooms you have? I mean, good Lord.
Wow. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the world of fiber, because, we all have fiber and we all need fiber.
Today's show is high in fiber.
Wow, that's a euphemism that I didn't ever think I'd hear. Here's the thing. This one comes from CE Pro, our buddy Julie Jacobson and them. It came out of Cedia, which is kind of interesting to me. But I saw this and I'm like, holy cow, this has so many education applications. What it is, it's a fiber cable that has detachable HDMI connectors. Now, guys, what's the first thing I thought? I'm like, okay, you've got balance, which is what it is. We've been having conversations for how many years about DM and about other twisted pair solutions for sending HDMI, farther than 50 feet successfully. And suddenly these guys have got this fiber, which, ostensibly you can go up to 1,000 feet according to these guys. The company is called Celerity. Almost think of celebrity without the B in the middle. But I'm like, holy cow, this is somewhat exciting. So if you have a room that, let's say that you just want to put in an HDMI connector for a laptop or for a PC, to me, this seems a lot more cost effective than slapping in a DM system or an AMX system. Matt, is this this plausible to you, or is this something like it's almost like snake oil here?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out why I'd want to do that over, for example, some of the cheaper HD-based T. I mean, it'd have to be a place where I have a distance limitation and copper wasn't an option. I mean, I could do the same thing with, $150 part, which I've bought before, which is a single Cat5 cable, Bell and Solution.
Okay.
So now if I need to go 1,000 feet, yeah, that actually could be an application, but at least in my environment, I've never needed to go 1,000 feet. So
okay, Scott. So is it maybe a cost issue? Because he's right. 1,000 feet is $1,800. 100 feet is $500. So that's still kind of costly when you start considering other point-to-point applications. Scott, is that the deal here? Where if these guys want to make a run at this, they need to drop their price?
That was my first reaction to it. Is wow, that's somewhat pricey. My other reaction was that you've now taken your typical HDMI cable, which has 2 points of failure, and you've turned it into 4 points because those are detachable. But the interesting thing is, and I'm sure we're all on different email lists and groups, and there's been some email going on in one of the groups I'm on recently about copper and HDMI and HDCP, and people starting to have some issues with that, and whether the cables aren't crimped right or whatever the issue is, they're seeing some problems there. So the thing I like about this, and if you read this, is you order custom lengths. You're not putting the ends on this fiber.
Yeah.
You order it in the length that it comes on, so you get a decent cable. Why would I like this over some of the other stuff we've used from two of the major companies? Well, let's say that the Crestron now says you don't need shielded twisted pair, but I have got a particular bug in my bonnet lately about people saying, "Oh, use standard twisted pair," and then you read it a little more carefully and shielded. They'll put in parentheses or something. Shielded twisted pair is not standard twisted pair, and so that's really started irritating me lately. And that's the first thing they ask you when you call them. Well, is it shielded? No, as you see, it's standard twisted pair. Oh, but our shielded is highly recommended. Well, yeah, but it's not required.
Yeah, so yeah.
You can use unshielded. It'll only go 15 feet, but you can use unshielded.
Or in the other case I was talking about, it had to go more than 16 feet. But we won't go there because that
DM really, classic, yes.
Oh yeah.
That really put me over the edge. So does fiber fix some of that is the question, and would this help some of those issues with because we know that the cable has got to do this communication and this handshake, and it's got to do it flawlessly. So maybe that's where fiber would be beneficial here.
And constantly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, we're going to continue on after talking about that. This is, I think, one of my favorite stories of the month, and I don't know which one of you gentlemen passed it to me, so I thank you for it, whoever did. NEC has a great program. It's called Swap Out with NEC, and we'll pay your reprogramming costs. This is wonderful, right? I mean, Matt and Scott and I, we all have, currently we have great Crestron systems, and I think all three of us know how to program. At least we have guys who do. I do. I am the programmer here on my campus, and Greg is just getting into Crestron, so this will be great for him. You can swap out your projector, and they are nice enough to pay $150 to have your system reprogrammed if you purchase 5 projectors. So let me get this straight. I'm not good at math, but you're going to get a programmer, a Crestron.
That's why you're going to grad school.
I know. A Crestron certified programmer to reprogram your room for $30 a room.
Yeah, so Tim, I sent this on to you because when I first saw it, it was kind of a joke. But when I first saw it, I was like, oh my, this is really interesting because, there's always this debate of should we do programming in-house. And one of the first times I decided that I was going to look into it is when I wanted a button so that we could switch between 4:3 and 16:9 aspect ratios on a TV, put on a touch panel. And they told me it was like a $750 cost.
Yep.
I said, all right, I'm going to start looking into this. And so I thought, maybe things are turning. And, so now, I mean, what they're really saying is they'll pay you enough for a programmer to open simple windows.
Yes, maybe.
Not do anything, but open the program.
To open the program, yeah.
Laugh at you and then close it.
He'll point that and tell you where your problem is, and then ask you to pay the other $700.
Can I tell you? Okay, this is I have a story similar to Scott. I was on the job here maybe 6 months, not even that, and we had 2 huge barcodes go out in 2 of our huge lecture halls. These barcodes were the size of Yugos, and I mean the whole 3 guns and everything, and so it was less expensive to replace them, and we got a couple really nice Epsons at the time. Well, the company that put the original system in did not give us the code and would not sell us the code, would not give us the code. And so it cost $1,000 for them to change the 232 code from barcode to Epson. And I was just like Scott. At that point, I went to my first 2 Crestron class and learned how to do it myself.
Well, now you can send NEC a bill for that now.
Well, yeah, and what I did was, I even when we went to rehab those 2 rooms, I contacted the company again and said, here's the deal. You guys, this has been 8 or 9 years ago. Can I get the code from you? And they flat out refused, would not sell it, would not give it to me. So you know what I did? I ripped everything out and put in brand new and programmed it myself. Mm-hmm. And I will never buy Crestron from that company again.
Yeah, that's why here with this move to Crestron and programming that we're doing, we're going to have the programming done by an outside programming company, and we did a little bit of a, interviewed a bunch of folks to do that, and one of the first things we always mentioned was, hey, we're going to own the code.
Yeah.
And if that's a problem, hey, we're not interested. That's the end of the discussion. We've heard too many of these stories.
We did a program, a building project. Oh, good Lord, 2 years ago now, and I was able to assist and help with the design of it. And I had never done a spec book where you write physically in the CSI code and all this other jazz. And one of the things we put in there in the bid documents was that the client, the customer, i.e. us, retains the ownership of that code. And that's actually it's part of our processes now, that whenever we have a program built or an AV system put in, is that's part of the bid documents that we own the code at the end of the project.
I'll jump in here for 1 second just to tell you, because another list that many of us are on has had a conversation recently about programming and the like, and me and another person are working on a forum where we can gather some of that programming and share it amongst each other. So for those of us who do programming,
that'd be awesome.
We've added class capture into a lot of our rooms. I don't have any problem putting that simple Windows program up there and letting other people take from it what they may, and hopefully somebody will put something up there that I need to know how to do.
Oh, I totally would, because you guys would make fun of my program. it's functional, but that's about it.
Although, keep in mind that is going to make some people very unhappy.
It would make
to see end users starting to share, Crestron code like that. Oh yeah, that's going to upset some people.
You think?
Yeah.
See, I don't think it would.
You know what? They need to learn how to offer services that add value, because that's the way they're going to get business.
I disagree with you.
Oh no, I think we're at this change, and we've talked about this a couple times on the show. We're at a point in the industry where the end user may be the most educated person in the room at times.
Well, and go ahead.
Go for it.
No, go ahead.
And I'm saying that with integrators and consultants and even programmers, we are not looking anymore at projects being one-off, walk away, and it's done. Yeah. We have to own and support these rooms for 7 years, which means we're updating code, we're managing it in a way that I don't know if the AV industry was ready for. And, if you can't make your money from us on our programming, find a service you can offer us where you can. I mean, there's still stuff we need. I know Scott had them on the technology managers group. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but the independent technology service providers, it's why I think that segment is growing so fast, is they're adding a lot of value to the industry.
Yeah, that's
right.
actually great.
And I don't disagree, Greg, that there's going to be some people that are upset. In my own little world, though, nobody I deal with is going to be upset because they don't have that business anyway.
Right.
And here's the other thing I was going to say is with the introduction of this next generation of processors. Let's talk Crestron specifically for a second. They're developing software that you don't need to go to class for anymore. Not simple Windows System Builder, but this next generation of System Builder is as simple or simpler than some of the other point-and-click programming languages that are out there. And you start doing that, you get yourself a student worker who understands some basic logic and some basic AV, and he can be your programmer. And I think will upset people, Greg, more than guys like me and Scott who just know how to do it.
Right, I agree. I think that let's say the independent programmers out there are going to be more upset with any of the big companies who keep making it easier for us to do this program. I remember thinking this back when Crestron started putting out Quick Media, and Gary Kay went on a tour with them talking about it. The essential thing was throw some Cat5 wires in the wall. You know how to put ends on them, and you've got a hang and bang room. And I was like, oh my word, my integrator's going to flip out about this. And so I think those are the people that are going to be more and more upset and kind of say to Crestron or Extron or AMX, maybe you should be making this a little more complicated for people to do.
Oh, wow. Don't give them any ideas, Scott. All right.
And Crestron is saying, we can't make it more complicated. They'll all jump ship and go over to Extron.
No, we won't. All right. You're listening to EdTech. Greg had to say that. He's about 5 miles away from Anaheim. Listening to EdTech.
No, it's a little further than that, but they never mind.
Yeah.
Nothing I could say here.
It's Greg Brown, whose mom, Matt Silverman, and Scott Tyner from Bates College. A couple more stories here, guys, real quick, and we'll kind of head out here and go about our way. Oh, good Lord. What do we pick next? Let's do Premiere. Because I don't know. Here's the thing. The Premiere is moving. Premiere mounts. Huh?
You want me to take that one?
Well, I'll introduce it, and because
local to Premiere as well as Extron.
Well, no. Because here's the thing. I have actually a really good friend who works at Premiere. His name is Sam Malik, and Sam used to work for Sanyo. And then when Sanyo and Panasonic kind of I'm going to say they merged, but they swallowed Sanyo. He here recently went over to Premiere, so they moved their headquarters. Now you can go, Greg.
Yeah, I think I suggested this story, and I will simultaneously both. Well, they're basically just moving. They're moving from Anaheim to Fullerton. It's like a few miles, but I would at the same time give them, first of all, props for actually building a mount that we've been trying to get them to build for a couple of years. A dedicated, we use a lot of their dedicated mounts because our tamper-proof hardware that we had custom made for us years ago fits them really well. So I have a lot of Premiere mounts, and we've been trying to get them to make a dedicated mount for the small Panasonic projectors.
Okay.
The 100s, the 200s, the 300s, the 400s all have an identical mounting pattern. And they finally came out with a mount which we were just really, really happy about, and we sent them a great big order because we wanted to change out a bunch of older, unreliable projectors that are using. We just basically have to change the plate on the projector and hang a new plate on the existing mounts.
Wow.
Really, really speed. We're talking about doing 40 or 50 projector upgrades this summer, but as soon as we ordered, That's when we discovered, but we're shutting down for 6 or 8 weeks while we move all of our equipment from one side of town to the other. And they're only moving a few miles, but they do a lot of their work here. And so simultaneously to giving them props for the new mount, just want to trash them for stopping production in the middle of summer just in time for when we need to order all of our mounts for all of our summer work.
Hey,
so
Greg,
sort of love-hate relationship with them right now.
I'd heard a rumor, Greg, that they were moving because of too much traffic in Anaheim with the new restaurant that opened down there.
Oh, very nice.
No, but seriously, that was a little bit of a joke.
Explain that, Tyner.
Well, from what I know, there's this new country western restaurant down there. That's the big. Have you been, Greg?
I have not been.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I want to see you. I want to see video of you doing a line dance.
Excuse me, my phone is ringing.
It's the Extron phone.
But Greg, this is a curious question when you talk about the mounts. Why don't you use universal mounts?
Oh, good
because
question.
we haven't found any that were not dreadfully unsecure.
Okay.
They tend to use most of the universal mounts used a pinned hex, which great. I need to run over to Home Depot before I can steal your projector.
No, that makes perfect sense because we, as you can imagine, have got very little theft issues. But clearly, I can see where you'd have a different.
Yeah, and all of the other departments have a terrible hard time keeping projectors around here. And knock on wood, we have never lost a projector that we used this tamper-proof hardware that we've been buying for probably the better part of the last 10 years now.
Wow. Okay. Because I'm with Scott. I've lost one in 10 years.
Well, we've had one or two where my guys kind of forgot to put the tamper-proof hardware in, and we discussed that concept after the fact.
I'll tell you what I love most about the universal mount is the emergency replacement.
Yeah.
I can be in and out of a room literally in about, considering it's the same brand projector, but in and out of a room, 10 minutes I can get a projector swapped out because of this universal mount.
We do something, I guess, similar. It sounds like it may be similar to Greg. It's made by BMS. It's a secure mount, which is a plate mounting system, where our projector is actually mounted to a plate which slides into the mount. And all the screw points are blocked, and it's a keyed lock. And for maintenance, it's really simple. We actually have projectors ready to go on plates. So one goes down, you just slide one out, slide one in, 10 minutes, you're good to go.
For about a year now, Chief has been making their universal mounts with a lock on it so that you can't slide it out. If you could get up above enough, you might be able to get it out of the projector. But our view on that's been, if you're going to spend 20 minutes in there, you're going to get that projector one way or another.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys, a couple more stories real quick. First of all, Duquesne came out with a new mic system. It's a wireless mic system for K through 12 market. And I'm going to ask you guys, because you're smarter than me, is there a point where you don't think...
There was a lot of disagreement there on that one, wasn't there?
What? No, there was no disagreement. You guys
Cue the crickets.
You guys just kind of shut up for a second while I told you you're smarter than me.
The one time we're quiet during the show.
Here's my thing. There has to be a point where putting a microphone in a room, and I guess I'm asking for a size here or a square footage, but putting a microphone in a class of 20 or 30 students, whether they're little kids or they're college students, to me sounds like a waste. I mean, yes, I'll give you a lecture hall, but a class of 25 kids is not needed. Do you think, Matt?
No, our cutoff at Mason has been 50.
However,
we are starting to revisit that. Generally, I'd say 50 is our cutoff. There's maybe a handful of rooms where we just decided the acoustics were so awful that you needed, a little bit of speech lift. But really, even in 50-seaters, we've seen instructors don't use the microphones. I'd say you really have to get up to about 100 before they feel obligated to use it. And we actually have a meeting next week with our ADA staff to start looking at some of the new regulations that actually went into effect back in March. But we may change that number based on their interpretation of guidelines. But from a functional point of view, 50 has really been our magic number.
Okay. Scott, do you guys have a hard and fast rule like that? Like this is the number of people where we'll give you a microphone for?
We don't. I think we're a little bit like Matt in the sense that we will walk into a room and just kind of get a sense of the room, the shape of the room, the size of the room, the ambient noise in the room. Do we need something? And we'll often err on the side of caution and put something in if we think there's a chance. But, if you're talking about a 15 person or even, 20, 25 person seminar room, I'm not going to put a microphone. I mean, it's probably more annoying than it is helpful.
Yeah. Blasting the people out from the front row.
Right.
Greg, do you guys have, do you have a rule of thumb that you use?
We put them in just about every place, and we have rooms that go down to 11 in capacity. I'm not quite sure we've got wireless mics in any rooms quite that size, but we see requests for wireless mics pretty regularly in rooms starting at about 30 people. But the way we look at it, being the elite university that we are, we cannot ask our instructors to strain their voices and actually, project out over the class. We have to give them what they want, which is wireless mics so that they can speak in their hushed whispers. And also, like was alluded to, we do use them as the input for our hearing assist systems, which we have every place. We have amplified sound, and also our podcasting system plugs into the wireless receiver. So if you want to podcast a class, largely the process is to just get yourself a wireless mic.
Very good. Did you guys hear that? We're in the presence of an elite college.
That is that. I mean, well, I've heard the Bears are pretty elite.
We're gonna have the whole Bears Bruins thing again. You obviously didn't hear me doing the little quotation marks with my fingers while I said that.
Please don't mention Bears this morning. It was a rough night last night, so I'm a huge...
we had a you know how you get the car chases on TV and instantly all of the evening news is focused on following the car chase. It might not be as big of a thing out there as it out here as it is.
Greg.
Yeah, I was thinking about
it's four-wheelers.
Jeez.
Snowmobilers, right?
Yeah, snowmobilers.
We had a bear that had wandered down into a backyard in a neighborhood sort of in the foothills here, and every freaking news station all night had the helicopters for like the 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock hour completely. Everybody was just focused on, looking for the bear in the spotlight from the helicopter footage, because a bear was seen in this neighborhood. And occasionally they actually did spot the bear. The bear actually took a swim in somebody's swimming pool. But the entire freaking night on local evening news was helicopter news footage of a bear.
Must have been a slow day in L.A.
Obviously, there wasn't a car chase to follow.
Yes. All right. Last and certainly not least, Infocom came out with their schedule through 2019. Unfortunately, I have something scheduled during 2018, so I won't be joining you. But 2019, I'm joking.
Is that your graduation date?
It better not be. It better not be. The Infocom, the show, released their dates through 2019, and just like any great tennis match, we're bouncing back and forth between Orlando and Vegas, and then Orlando, and then Las Vegas, and then Orlando, and then Las Vegas, and then Orlando. If you followed that, congratulations, because 2013, which is next year, will be Orlando, and then just kind of go back and forth there. Is this a problem for anybody? Anybody see a problem with this? I personally do, because I don't like the show in Orlando. I think it's weird. It's not weird. Here's my double-sidedness of this. I think the venue in Orlando is great. I like having everything under one roof in one hall and all that jazz. In Vegas, you don't have that. We're split up into two separate halls. However, outside of the conference, when you have things to do and you want to go hang out with your friends, we want to have a technology manager's dinner, or what have you, Orlando just doesn't seem as friendly to do that. Does that make sense, guys? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
So, Matt, do you have a problem with this, or are you looking forward to bouncing back and forth because you're East Coast?
I mean, I guess it really doesn't bother me all too much. I've got used to the rotation. I know, talking to people over at Infocom, I think they get better U.S. attendance, or it's like they get better U.S. attendance, I think, at the Vegas show, and they get better international at the Orlando show or something like that.
Makes sense.
I also know that Orlando is actually quite popular with a lot of people because they bring their families down, because there's a lot more family-friendly stuff to do in Orlando.
Agreed.
And, there's other stuff you can do in Vegas, I guess, and it just may not be with the family-friendly variety.
We've heard rumors.
and seen pictures.
None of us would know, though.
No.
And yeah, I mean, I guess it really doesn't bother me. I mean, I kind of thought we would have grown to the point where it would have been like locked into Vegas, because I think we take up most of Orlando at this point, where there is some expansion left in Vegas. But, I guess now that NCSA decided to go their own ways, we'll lose another 1,000 square feet or whatever booth, plus the Extron if they come back or not. So.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. I figured they were gone for good. Mr. Tyner, is this a big deal to you, or are you just going to come back and forth?
It's not to me. I actually, to be contrary, like it in Orlando better than Vegas, except for I guess the heat's about the same. The humidity's a little different in Orlando, and so I actually never went to an Infocom in either. Other than those two places, when they did it in Atlanta, I've never been to any other place but those. Although I actually, again, I don't know, I'm trying to be difficult. I do like the idea when you're in Vegas of having the two halls. I like the way that they're separated. And I don't know, in my mind, it makes it easier for me to focus on one hall one day, the next hall the next day. And I feel like I've covered more, whereas in Orlando, I'm like, oh my God, how am I ever going to make it through this whole mess?
Yeah, and that's a valid point too. I'm the opposite way. I'm like, okay, give me the whole one big shot and then work my way through.
Right.
Greg, I unlike Scott, I actually was at the one in Anaheim, which I think was really cool. It was a little bit tight, but it was really cool. Is this a big deal to you? Since I think this last year you actually drove to Vegas, being at UCLA, but you'll have to fly to Orlando.
The Anaheim show there in, what was that, 2007, I think, was the only non-Orlando or Vegas Infocom I've gone to, so I don't have a lot of history to refer to. If it's in Anaheim, we send everybody and their brother out there, which can be kind of a drag. Normally, I'm trying hard to lose people here from campus and focus on what I need to focus on rather than handhold somebody. But so whatever. I'm fine with it. At least we know. Yeah. It is what it is.
All right. I guess I'm the only one that's I'm not even upset.
It's not a dry heat. It's a wet heat.
Yeah, I can think that's my
It's
issue.
not a wet heat. It's walking in a floating swamp in Orlando.
Walking in soup.
Yeah.
Go to the ice bar.
Yeah. When I was in the Navy, there used to be a Navy base in Orlando, and I was stationed there for 6 months. And boy, we wore these polyester white uniforms, and every day as we left school, it would rain on us.
Wow.
And it'd be like 110 degrees and raining. It was just it's horrid.
Oh, jeez. All right. I think that's as much trouble as we can get into today. Thanks, guys, for joining us. With us has been Scott Tyner. He is from Bates College. Would you like to promote anything, kind sir?
I'm all set, but thank you for the a good hour, just like I expected it to be.
All right. Well, we're going to mention Scott because he's our illustrious leader of the Technology Managers Council. So go sign up for that. That's what we'll promote for Scott. Also with us is Matthew Silverman of George Mason University, but he also has his own blog and website. He's fancy that way. So go ahead and give it to us, sir.
Sure. The website is nextedutech.com, though I've been kind of negligent in updating my blog. I'll probably get something out in the next month or so. What I do want to definitely promote is in about 3 weeks, I'll be out at the CCUMC conference. I'm actually doing 2 presentations there, one on enterprise AV, and the other one is a modern-day technology manager survival guide. So
Very
should
cool.
be good stuff.
Very cool. All right. And last but not least, Greg Brown. He is from UCLA, but he's also a blogger for Infocom. So thank you, sir.
The newest blogger at Infocom All Voices, where I get to hang out with a whole lot of people that are a whole lot smarter than me.
So that means they're way smarter than me. So,
Well, I wasn't going to say it.
well, I said it. I just, my name is Tim Albright. If you'd like to follow me, my Twitter is T as in Tim, D as in David, Albright, ALBRIGHT. But more importantly for me and everybody here, go to our website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You can find all of our shows there. I'm actually posting a blog. I'm kind of like Mr. Silverman. I've been negligent of that, but I've been harassed long enough by the guys that help us run AV Nation. So I'm posting a blog on Monday. It's about my daughter. Everybody say, "Aw."
Aww.
All right, so check that out if you would, please.
How old is your daughter, Tim?
She is 6.
Aww.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
and
about
wait, and what's her name?
Sophie.
Aww.
Oh, good lord!
All together, guys.
Aww.
All right, enough. Go to the website, please. avnation.tv, and that is all the time we have for EdTech.